dinner was candlelight. It was really dark, really romantic. Got to know them much better, so it was fun. Do you have like your words up there that like are kind of funky and weird?
The guys at our school, instead of addressing people like the group, like saying like, "What are you guys doing?" Say, "Man's like you." It's really weird. Yeah. So man's like you are going to that, and then just means like the group.
Crew.
That's interesting.
It's not. It's really ignorant.
What about rude? That's rude.
No.
That's a good thing. That's fat. That's dope.
Yeah, I hear that.
But these are old school, like.
Yeah, it was old school.
I don't really talk like that.
No.
ClowdyWorld. And I wanted to give it a day or two to kind of let the dishes and what they were kind of take some time to grow. But I want to speak on how Meet the Grams pushed Drake in a lyrical corner. So when we speak about this Kendrick Lamar diss and kind of what happened overall, we need to first talk about and explain what this Meet the Grams diss cover kind of is breaking down. So as we've been hearing recently, kind of the beef going on with Metro Boomin as well, how Drake, Six God, otherwise known as BBL Drizzy, is kind of having some issues right now where he's kind of being hit from all cylinders, from all angles, no Diddy. It seems as if everything he does is kind of getting the recomeuppance of years and years and years and decades of dominance. And whether you like it or dislike it, it's very telling and very interesting, and kind of gives a real introspective of how superstars can never really gracefully fall away, because to be a superstar would mean to be everything in your type of creative field to have been bigger than it needed to be, meaning even your fall off will be bigger and much more televised than it needed to be. And while I still think Drake is still on and won't fall off no time soon, we do need to speak on and kind of express how Kendrick Lamar definitely set himself up as the winner of this round specifically. When we look at the cover, we see a lot of different pill bottles, and those pill bottles, many were saying, were kind of issues dealing with Drake having weight issues, getting surgeries and things like that to look different. Now, whether you agree or do not agree with Drake's perspective on doing those things, there have been allegations for years of plastic surgery, to doing tummy tucks, to even paying and doing these things with other women. And whether you like it or dislike it, it is an aspect of Drake that we have to acknowledge. It's some light skin stuff, but it's not light skin stuff. See what I'm saying? It's some light skin stuff, but it's not light skin stuff. Let's make a difference. Let's think bigger. Let's be better than our ancestors, you feel me? No hate to my light skinned boys. So yeah, when we look at all this stuff, bro, and we see the glove, what do all these things represent? We're showing how the downfall of the OVO team and how these leakers and these people in OVO and Drake's camp are giving this man Kendrick any and everything he needs to fire on his cylinders. And while that's not hard to do, especially because Drake has never been the type to go the Kendrick route of trying to be, you could say, out the way heavily. He's more so someone that keeps himself in the public eye, or at the very least keeps his impact in the public eye. I feel like Drake has kind of been that person for a while. You could say he's transcended rapping as a whole into a pop star, or in that Michael Jackson lane, not Michael Jackson-esque, Michael Jackson lane. Let's be respectful of both legacies right now. Lane, not esque, lane. When we look at him getting into this Michael Jackson lane and being bigger, you could say this happened around Hotline Bling pre-2017, where we saw his impact in the look of what Drake represented go from just being a rapper of elevated heights to being someone of global status that could be never really touched anywhere. And I feel like when he hit that different step, I think that it ruffled a lot of feathers in the rap community, especially Kendrick, because it did mean that while their voices were very respected still separately, Drake's voice almost rang a little bit higher to the status quo, not really to the community or the culture, but it did ring higher to the status quo because he's a bigger artist and his name rings bells. What rap becomes, or what it kind of evolved into these last few years, it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to say that Drake's impact and dominance definitely had a hand on how the culture looks at rap and how it's definitely changed from nuance. Nowadays, saying you have a ghostwriter, people look at it like it's expected. And I want to say that slow again so we understand what I just broke down. As a rapper whose job it is to do rhythm and poetry and write their rhymes for a literal job to get paid and live in their job, that those people that's job it is to create and write as their job are just having other people write for them. Like, And I think that's kind of the whole point of why I think that Kendrick has made it this deep and took it to this level, because we can't keep allowing that. If we keep allowing the culture to go down that path, whether it's because of Drake or it's Meat Riders or the legacy or the music or the vibes or whatever you want to consider it to be, if we keep letting this Canadian dude take the helm, who was not about what he started about, who was not come from what he started coming from, who did not write about what he started writing about at the beginning, if we let this man dictate what it means to be black, what it means to be a rapper, what it means to be in the culture, what it means to be or have an understanding of what culturally black represents in the understanding of black American hip hop culture, having him leading will never take us to the promised land, man. And even when we look at some of the verses back to back, I really did value Drake's impact in this beef. I did appreciate a lot of his tracks, same with Kendrick. But there's also verses where I think about where he says, "You're rapping like you're trying to free the slaves." And it's a funny bar, I'll give it to him. It's, you know, it's clever, it's some little fun jab, get back to it. But then I think about, you could have took it deeper. You could have made it, like that. You could have took it to that level of, you're doing all this, but I want to see you actually say what it is and really make that effort. You could argue that same front that he speaks on, you not speaking on things. You could do that same argument about him not putting real physical action into the measurable in recent years. Of course, all these big rappers are giving back and donated. Every big rapper, including Drake. Every big rapper's done some throw off donation, 50 bands, 100 bands, 20 bands. Very generous, very genuine, very appreciated for what they were representing. But let's not pretend like a rapper throwing rich money isn't the same as a millionaire throwing money at problems. Let's not act like we didn't want to see a measurable impact. And if you're talking about all this community stuff, to see it more on a, not day to day, but year by year, month by month. I don't want an article saying you gave back to some school 20 years ago, 8 years ago. What are you doing now, since you're speaking on the plight of black people now? That would have been such a unique and nuanced interpretation at Drake going at Kendrick, because it would have been almost like you're hitting at me as if you're this cannon, but even if you're not a glass cannon, your cannon still has cracks that, you know, we can demolish as well. And I feel like if Drake had came with that perspective of nuance, it could have really added another level to this beef that kind of really could have made it. It already, to me, is going to be a classy beef in its own route, but it would have really kind of took it to that level of not being, of course, a Nas or Jay-Z or Biggie, but kind of in that same conversation where these are level-headed, top-tier juggernauts slugging at it with some real wordplay. Like, I'm enjoying it.